Hello and welcome to the First Issue Club podcast. We are your weekly comic book podcast where each and every week we read first issues only. Come join us for the reading club of a lifetime. We love comic books and we love you. And this week we are covering two different comic books. Yep, two number ones. The first one's from Image Comic Books. It is Radiant Black. And we have Casual Fling out on AWA Comics. But before we get started, like we do each and every week, we do the hottest, the newest comic book news. That's why you're here. That's what you want to hear. Greg Lichtai, besides you having a new child named Teddy, can we say your kid's name on the podcast?
Well, you did it last episode, so yeah.
It's out in the ether already.
All right, yeah. Got a kid named Teddy. Caitlin, Greg have a kid. What else is on the news?
What else is on the news? A lot of news stuff is happening. First up, Josh Whedon, have you guys heard about this? Is already facing allegations for being a total shitbag. Once again for
didn't this already
stuff
happen?
he did. Yeah, this has been ongoing, and why he hasn't been stopped already is mind-boggling. But there's new allegations.
Somebody stop Joss.
The public is crying out for it. Why has no one stopped Josh? Hashtag stop Josh.
You have the power to do it. Please just do it.
Well, you know why he's a dirtbag is because nobody's named Joss. That's like a fake name. It's a fake.
It is a strange name.
Yeah,
I've never known anyone else besides him to be
Joshua
called that.
Yeah,
that's the full Christian name.
Joshua. He's facing allegations again for what? What's it this time? What's Joshua got?
I think he's just prone to mental and I don't know if it's physical abuse, but he's definitely an abusive individual to work with, creating a toxic workplace and kind of being just an absolute terror to be around. And we've seen this with Avengers. We've seen this with other projects he's been on, and now some actors and actresses who have worked on Buffy, the TV show, have come out and kind of cleared the air about stuff that they've encountered with Joss.
Okay, so this is
Sarah Michelle Gellar?
Not her. Others.
Willow.
No.
Angel, David Boreanaz.
No. These are like maybe B-list Buffy
none of the
players.
Hey, and doesn't mean I don't believe him, but I just wanted to clarify.
Right. It wasn't the heavy hitters.
Oh yeah, that sucks. I liked Buffy too. I don't know. Go
I
ahead,
didn't
Mike.
know he was an asshole on Avengers. I thought it was just a Justice League thing.
Justice League and event. I don't know what the deal is. He's just, I don't think he's been accused of doing anything, sexually nefarious or anything like that. He's just been like abusive and critical and like
Is he
like
yell
just
a lot? Is that what it is?
that and like manipulative and just
It's like a Christian Bale thing.
Yeah, times 100, I believe. Like
You
he's
know what's
just
bad?
rough.
Yeah.
You know what's funny though is that people really celebrate Stanley Kubrick, who was infamously a nightmare to work with. That he would just like yell at actors and be a shithead to them and get them to their breaking point,
Mhm.
and then be like, "Perfect, I got you where I need you for this scene," and everyone like really celebrates him.
But I don't think Josh was doing that to get our artistic performance out of these actors and actresses. I think he was just being a dickhead to be a dickhead.
Either way, it's shitty.
No, for sure, yeah. I've heard stories about when Kubrick was filming the moon landing about how just many astronauts just left the site.
Couldn't take it.
The first 5 Neils quit.
Yeah, oh my God. And they were good. They were good.
They were great. Armstrongs.
Neil Armstrong, because they were fantastic.
They were playing the character of Neil. It wasn't just like Neil was the one that could put up with the most shit.
No, the Neil Armstrong is like a nomenclature. Like
It's
it's
a
like
character. Okay.
yeah.
He's
It's like 007.
the most famous performance artist.
Yes, he's
just
kept it up.
He's been putting on a tour de force since the late 60s.
What else? What else we got? New Daddy Greg.
Did you guys see that the artist on Immortal Hulk has been accused of doing some anti-Semitic imagery and
yes, I saw
No.
that. Yeah.
yeah. So
And that comic book it's shitty, but that comic book is shooting way up in price.
Really?
that
because of-
happens. That happens a lot. Because remember in X-Men Gold,
Yes.
number 1, where
Yeah.
they had the Islamic
It's
slurs
worth
and stuff.
nothing now, by the way.
Well, it should be
That's-
worth nothing because it's
Yeah.
inflammatory.
Yep. It's
So-
crazy that people go after that stuff.
So
though.
do you know, Mike, do you know what happened here?
No, I know that I love Immortal Hulk. Joe Bennett, I'm assuming is the name. That's the guy who normally does the internal artwork for it.
Correct. Yeah.
There was a jewelry store and he left out the L in it and it just said jewelry and he's claiming it was a typo. So like
Yeah, but the more flame to the fire there is that there's a Star of David next to jewelry. So and he's had
Okay, so there's a Star of David, and he says it was an accident.
yes,
I didn't know that Star David part.
Yeah, and so there, and this is just a long line of things that he's done that have just kind of towed the line of inappropriate.
This is a theme for our news. is
Yeah.
there's been a long line and history of malfeasance and
You know, a real
What?
cheery news hit for everyone.
first Joss and now Joe. I'm Googling this right now. I'm really interested in what this panel is.
Why spend your time doing this? Like if you hate a whole group of people, by the way, the most persecuted people on earth, maybe, I guess, just like keep it to yourself. You don't need to sneak that shit in. This isn't like the Beach Boys sneaking in the weird
The Hail Satan.
yeah, Hail Satan and shit. Just don't be like, stop.
I think it really is just like a power trip. It's that they can somehow slip their message of hate into a comic book unseen, but they know it, and that they know people are reading it is probably a thrill for them. And
It's like
disgusting.
people that get off and jacking off in public or something.
To an extent, sure. Like it's the thrill of putting something in someone's face that they don't want to see or that they don't agree with.
Like a flasher. Yeah. That sucks. That I read that and then I was like, I didn't read the Star of David part, but the Star of David signs the deal.
Yeah.
It's
He's
very
a-
clearly a Star of David.
Yeah. He's also done some pretty transphobic comments on Instagram about the new iteration of She-Hulk. And so he's just kind of a dirtbag, and this is hopefully the last straw on the camel back for his career.
Well, that sucks because the artwork is amazing in that.
Yeah, it is. That's
Talented.
that's a shame.
But see ya. Maybe they'll get Alex Ross to just do the whole cover now. Or the whole issue now.
Holy
Oh
crap,
my-
can you imagine?
That would be amazing.
It'd also take 6 months to do
If he
an
stepped up.
issue.
They'd never finish it.
What if he just didn't do does he maybe that's in his deal that he always has to do the paint to it, but if he just didn't do the paint, just did the line work?
I've never seen him just do line work. I don't think I've ever seen something that was like halfway
Yeah.
to
I
what
haven't
his
either.
final stuff is.
Yeah.
Do you think he does that digitally, or is he full on watercolors?
I'm well, I could be wrong. I'm almost positive he does it not digitally.
Wow. The guy's a master of his craft.
But I could be wrong. I could be blowing up right now. What else we got news? We got some more we got to keep on rolling with this news.
Yeah, so there's potentially a new Defenders book coming out in April that is from the spill out of Marvel Comics 1000.
I don't remember.
Are we still talking about Marvel Comics 1000?
We are. It's Al Ewing. We can't not talk about it.
I thought his big thing was the cowboy guy from
That's who's going to be in the new Defenders. He and Doctor Strange are getting a new Defenders team together.
Okay. That took a year to do, I guess.
Well, what else has happened this year?
It's a good
Yeah.
point.
Some things might have postponed that a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So the what's his name? The Rough Rider. The
No, yes, let's just call him that. He's officially the Rough Rider.
Hangs with DMX.
They're now Marvel canon.
Yep. He won't wear a rub.
What's the line that you're referencing?
If you rough ride it, you don't wear a condom.
I've never heard anyone.
I'm
You're
thinking of
thinking of Raw
bareback.
Dog.
I think I'm thinking, yeah, raw dog or bareback riding. Rough rider is not a term that you say for not wearing a condom. So,
It's something else completely.
kids, if you're listening to this, you're learning slang from a comic book. Don't do that one because that one will be incorrect. All right. Well, what's the last piece of news that we have, Greg?
Oh, the last one was just a funny bit about there's a new character going to be in the new Batman book that James Tynion is writing called Miracle Molly, and she looks like the cyberpunk queen of your dreams, Budget King.
Ooh, I can't wait. I love cyberpunk. I love the name Molly, and I love James.
So I think it's James Tynion has been dropping new characters left and right from his new run.
He's single-handedly saving DC with this shit. How is there going to be a cyberpunk character in the present time, though?
Well, I think she just looks like cyberpunky.
Okay. Oh, is she?
What a fucking nerdy question. How's she gonna be in present day but be cyberpunk? Use the correct semantic nomenclature, please.
She looks very cyberpunky. This is rad. I wonder if she has any like robot shit on her.
She's a villain. It looks like, or at least her left eye's robotic.
But you can never trust.
This is going to be in Batman 108. I bet it has insane pre-orders. Sneak surprise reveal in the issue before. It might be worth getting 107 too.
For sure.
It's a good point. Did you guys see Red X took his mask off today in Teen Titans?
Yeah, but we still don't know who he is.
Yeah. So nobody gives a shit.
I know I don't. That was the most confusing, or one of my least favorite Future State books so far.
Yep. I agree.
Everyone concurs?
Yep. Okay. There's a lot of comics out this week, but we're covering the best. So let's
get
this podcast
started.
First up, we had Radiant Black by Kyle Higgins from most recently Power Rangers. He also did Cowl. And then we have Marcelo Costa on the artist from Selfmade and also Power Rangers. All right, in Radiant Black, we have a failed writer from LA. Everybody knows that story. Your friend that goes there and just can't write. He goes home and boom, hit by a black hole, and he's the nation's newest superhero. This has got charm. This has got superheroes. It's Radiant Black. What did you guys think about Radiant Black?
Well, like you said, it did have a lot of charm, and they're kind of toting this as like Image's next Invincible. In fact, they use Invincible in the synopsis on the official Image website. So I think they're really hoping and praying that this book takes off like Invincible did.
When I read it, I felt like I was reading the first of Invincible. It felt like a very smooth first issue. And I will tell you what, the editor's notes on this 100% signed the deal for me on really liking this comic book. Kyle came across as like one of the most endearing writers that I have read in a long time by kind of wearing his heart on his sleeve there.
I agree. It helped with my perspective on the comic. During my read through, the person in the comic who ends up getting the superpowers seems like he thinks it's a given that he was given these powers and not his buddy who was standing right next to him and just as well might have touched the magic item that turned him into a superhero. and I just didn't buy that he like deserved that, earned that, owned it over his buddy or pal in any way. And he was like, I've been given this amazing thing that I hold dear and have to be responsible for now. It's like, oh, you may be able to still like give it to your friend who was with you.
Well, what I love about that though, is that through one read, you could just read this and be like, oh, generic origin story of what we're going to find out to be a new comic book hero, right?
Yeah.
In two reads, it's like, well, it would be really weird for him to actually talk out the idea that he was a failed writer on his own accord, but now this is the thing that's going to give him purpose and make him famous. Like, no superhero would actually like be worth their salt and talk about being a new superhero like that. And so I think Invincible is the right comparison, because it's like we have a flawed superhero who is like dealing with self-doubt and purpose, and might not even become a superhero, to be honest. Like, may use this just for their own glory. We may be watching, much like in the story of Invincible, the actual true story of a supervillain.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, this guy already has a gigantic ego, even though it's deflated when we first meet him. Giving him superpowers may actually be the worst thing that this guy needs right now in his life.
This guy calling himself a writer reminds me of some conversations that I heard the other week in our comic shop, that there's this guy who always says, "Oh, since I'm in the comic book industry," and then adds his opinion. And it's like, okay, my opinion holds more weight because I'm in the industry. And I asked him what he does, and he says he sells comics. And I'm like, oh, I was like, you're in a competitor shop. And he was like, oh, not really. I sell comics on eBay. And I'm like, oh, I didn't say this, but I'm like, I'm in the industry too. Like, so's that guy. So is he.
That's
It's
like you saying you're like in the Actors Guild when you're like the craft service person.
yeah, we're all in the industry then. That doesn't give you the right to have an opinion better than me because you've sold a comic on eBay. A lot of people call themselves writers or fancy themselves writers and have never been published.
Correct.
I think there is something to this main character where he's got a little bit of a complex, and maybe that does add some levels. I think my first read through, it kind of read as shallow, but maybe that's the intention here.
And I think that the writing was beautiful, because you come in on it like, oh damn, he's like a failed writer. And like he just can't make it. He can't make it work. And he maybe had a successful short story and he's like inches away from having this novel, but just can't make it work. Well, in a moment of like confession to his friend, he's like, no, I never even wrote a word for
Yeah.
4 years. And like I kind of had a guy that was interested in it, but not really. And so like I straight up have just been like hitting up credit cards to fund my lifestyle, and I'm a charlatan. And that's a deep that's a deep, like, this guy sucks.
Yeah, he's not even a writer.
To be called a charlatan, you've got to be
Yes.
just the worst of the worst.
You don't want to be a charlatan. He even like, which I think they kind of allude to the fact that he's buying $12 beers on this, like, charging credit cards. And his friend is like, dude, if you are buying $12 beers, you deserve to be in crippling debt. And I was like, I've met people like this who like will max credit cards out to like live the lifestyle that they think a person doing the job they want to be doing does.
Yes. Certainly entitled suburban kid lifestyle, and coming back to your parents as a safety net is a classic thing. I mean, as people who kind of paced out their careers and didn't live or grow up in that sort of situation where we just like went out in the world and expected to succeed. Like, does that make you dislike this character even more? Or do you guys have like no dislike for this character? I mean, to be genuinely honest, I didn't like the character. That doesn't mean that I didn't like the comic. I actually like really liked it, but
I don't think he's irredeemable, but I think you're definitely supposed to not like him at the beginning of the book because he is a fraud. Like, he puts on this mask of just like, I'm this great person, and you see him at his lowest, really. And you get tiny glimpses of like his humanity. Like when the bank denies him a loan, you see him just kind of breaking down, and you get glimpses of him with his family and his friends. So you know that there's a real human inside this kind of phony husk of a faux writer, but I don't think we're supposed to like him right now, and we may not like him the whole series. I mean, he may turn out to be a villain.
You know what was also working against him is that with this book called Radiant Black, For whatever reason, I thought the star or the lead was going to be an African American character. For it to turn out to be like an entitled white kid who's incredulous that the bank won't give him a loan when he makes no money.
Yeah.
I immediately was like, oh, fuck this character.
So I could not agree more. And then the fact that his like sidekick was like literally an idiot white dude just like living in suburban America.
Yeah.
I was just like, so we didn't even add diversity to this or a
Right.
female at all to this. Like it just felt like maybe you're supposed to hate this person then. Maybe that's intentional.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
You know? And so like I don't know. I want to go back to the Kyle Higgins being like so endearing and awesome. One of the things that he writes about is like I mentioned that most recently comes off of Power Rangers and how like he liked Power Rangers way too late, like when it wasn't cool, and like got made fun of a lot. And he wrote this really well about like how he would like skip things, like basically pretend to not watch it to hit his VCR to record and stuff. And like he kind of just like wrote about this idea of like embracing not being cool and like in not being worried about what other people think and not being worried about that there's assholes everywhere. And
Right.
I was like, okay, I hope that's going to come around here then too. Like, I mean, why else would he spend a whole page talking about that?
Yeah, that there's going to be some self-discovery here and figuring out to be who you are and be happy with that.
Yeah, I think
Because
so.
the character's lying about his success.
Yeah.
I think you're probably supposed to see yourself or your flaws in that instead of judge this guy like I judged him.
Yeah, I didn't. I was like, I kind of felt bad for him because I'm just like, oh shit, like he wanted people to think he was a writer, and he was really not. I mean, that's worse than failing at writing. Like you lied to people. You were a, dare I say, charlatan.
A charlatan.
Yeah, you've based your whole identity around this thing that you've never done professionally once.
It's like when we tell people we're a comic book podcast.
Yeah, but we have proof in the pudding. He doesn't.
It's a good point. We have 300 proofs in the pudding.
We have 300 puddings.
There's a bunch of allusions to what's going to happen in this comic book. You find out that these black hole items that turn you into essentially Darkhawk is probably touched by like a bad guy, somebody that's like, well, fuck it, I'm going to go rob banks, which is probably what I would do if
I would do the same. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if other characters around the world or other people, I mean, are just like finding these things also.
I hope so.
And everyone's doing what they will with them. I mean, at some point, we're probably going to find out the origin of this thing, but maybe for a while, it's just like these popped up all over the world and different people are grabbing different colors of it. The other person we saw who was robbing a bank had a red suit, and his is like the title.
So
The suit design is great.
Oh, it's so sick. And it's like it operates kind of like the symbiote suit
Yes.
for Venom. Like it's basically off your thoughts in your mind. So
Yeah.
when you want to do something, you just think it and the suit does it, which is rad. It's totally sweet.
If I could think myself dressed and undressed, I'd be made in the shade.
Yeah, this was like easily probably the most hyped independent book this week, I would say.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And it was definitely enjoyable. There's nothing about it that was not enjoyable. Now the characters themselves were maybe hard to figure out their motives. It was definitely enjoyable. It felt like mac and cheese. Like it was like I've read something like this before and I like it. It's nice.
Reminds me of my childhood.
High sodium content. I'll eat more of this. Thank you very much.
All right. Next up on the podcast, we have Casual Fling from AWA Upshot, written by Jason Starr, who has written some Marvel books, Wolverine Max, and a book I think we covered early on in the podcast called Red Border.
Yeah, this was one of the first AWA books that I read, and it really is kind of like a Get Out, but on the border to Mexico, where people come across the border and think they're going to a place that's safe, and they end up in this like house of horrors.
That's
We know
awesome.
what kind of stuff he likes to. It was freaky and high adrenaline. And I mean, obviously, if you've written like Wolverine Max or Punisher Max, those are like maybe in your wheelhouse. And this book kind of seemed like a little bit of a departure
So
from that.
So AWA writes books that try to be movies.
And
or
this is
or-
definitely trying to be a movie.
or seems like movies. So yeah, so Casual Fling fits within that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
this book was kind of just like what if Fatal Attraction was a comic book, and is about this woman, Jennifer, who is in a loving marriage with a family, and she's in a high profile career, and one day she comes across a man in a bar and they get to chatting, and eventually it leads to a casual fling. They have an affair in a hotel room, and she tries to forget about it and move on with her life. But the guy she had the affair with we find out, had videotaped the encounter. And so we kind of are led to believe that this comic book is going to be about her trying to, I don't know, stop him from telling the husband, or find out who he is or what his motives are for doing this and bothering her.
You get the idea that at least for a couple more issues, he's just going to be stalking her because she doesn't know he has video. He just seems like he's coming on a little hard, calling her like one more time to be like, come on, let's get drinks.
Yeah.
That's her interpretation of it. We know he's more of a weirdo. Also, when they hook up, imagine, if you will, you're in a situation where you find yourself out of mind and you make a mistake, and you go upstairs with somebody and are gonna cheat, and that person you're gonna spend this night with says, hang on a second, and then they get out a gold mask and put it on.
Okay, but you have
What?
to remember, this is post 50 Shades of
WYD.
Grey.
WYD, dude.
It's called a kink, baby, and it's hot.
I would be like, nope.
I would let it go for a little while longer just to see what happened. If they tied me up, and then that would be the deal
I mean,
breaker.
like,
Arousal could not be sustained if someone took out a gold mask and was like, let's get started.
Really? I would be super intrigued. I'd be like, all right, let's see what this. Do you have a mask for me?
right? Yeah, but cosplaying sucks. This is cool.
Yeah. Are you a furry? Let's do this.
Yeah. You're King Tut, okay? And
King Tut.
Are you cosplaying as Steve Martin? This is great. It is a little odd when he pulls out that like very eyes wide shut mask. It's
Yes.
you have a visceral reaction of just like, ooh, I'm into this, or no, I'm calling the police.
I don't have sex without a mask.
Right, but that's because your wife makes you wear it.
Yeah. So
Don't look. Hey, we like the lights completely on, but don't want to see each other's faces.
Lights on, blindfolds on as well.
I'm assuming if you're wearing a costume, then it's lights on.
It has to be. Then what's the point of wearing the costume?
Yeah, what's the point of wearing the costume?
well, if
it's
maybe
lights off?
texture, like if it's like it
Covered in peanut butter?
feels like gack or something. Or
Yeah, or like furry or scaly or something.
yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
They did such a good job of making you believe they had like a connection and stuff. I loved those couple pages that each panel was like a jump forward 10, 15 minutes,
Mhm.
and they've moved into another, portion of conversation, and you can tell that conversation's really flowing, and they're hitting it off. It just seemed like really organic and like it was leading to something crazy. She just had a complicated couple crazy days that primed her to slip up like this. Not that it's an excuse. No one should do this, but
Right. Yeah. Let's clarify.
but she was in wild, kind of pulled to her limit circumstances, in trouble at work, overworked, stressful life at home,
Mhm.
and was just in like the perfect place to be, to find herself at a weak moment. I just thought the writing that led up to that event was great.
I think the writing was too good, because we've been reading books about, evil aliens coming to Earth and killing people, and all these superhero books, but this book was so real and so jarring that it was almost kind of like hard to watch it unfold, because what's going to happen.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
This mother and this wife is going to cheat on her mate, and it's really hard to watch because it's so okay. Is it because I said mate instead of husband?
Right. Yeah. So they let her out of the zoo pen.
Listen, it was the point I'm trying to make was it was very real and very like believable. Like, this happens every day.
Right.
This scenario.
It's certainly it's definitely unnerving when you're reading it in the middle of a stack of like superhero comic books, or even if you do read horror, thriller sort of action comics, and that's what you gravitate towards. A lot of those things have a certain level of science fiction, or there's another level there that carries it into the absurd. This lived in such a real space, especially like we're talking about the relationships with her husband and the kind of monotony of like daily life and rinse and repeat that they did such a good job of conveying.
Yep.
Like how busy you are with two kids at the one time in a small apartment in New York City, and coming and going for work all the time and conflicting appointments. It just set you up to just make you feel like this was so real, and then turn everything on its head, that like she made a real person mistake and now it's getting out of control. So Danny's doing the covers, who's an artist that we love. I was thinking today, her style kind of reminds me of Frank Miller. Agree?
Oh, okay.
Disagree?
Oh, you think? Yeah,
I think so.
It's not a bad comp.
It reminds me of like the cover of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, like that like kind of brushy, almost like psychedelic.
Yeah,
Like
she
stroke.
definitely has like a like that scribbly sort of aesthetic,
Mhm.
which is definitely like one thing that she does that Frank Miller always did, is like lips are like a bunch of like lines back and forth. It's like I haven't picked my pencil up and I'm just like doing like scribble, scribble, scribble to
Oh
make
yeah,
the
yeah.
lines up and down lips. I just love that. Just a little nuance in her art that I love. But we got teased the second issue's cover, and it's got like a shadow silhouette of a person in the background and I believe the foreground was like her family out somewhere. And so he's just like floating around, following, watching. In our lead character's defense, this guy was in from out of town, or told her that he was, and that he was going to be leaving the next day. So it seemed like an even more bulletproof fling for
Yep.
her to be like, I'll never see this dude again. Yikes. So if you want to be creeped and freaked, and that's what you're into, you're gonna
honestly,
like this book.
It's weird, but like, this is maybe one of the best thriller comics I've read in a while, just because it's how based in reality it is.
Yeah, I feel like books like this are hard to pitch or sell to people,
Mhm.
because it's like, want to feel gross for like 10 minutes. Like, this book does such a good job of that.
It's like telling somebody they have to watch Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah. We're going to watch
Yeah.
a Serbian film and then this.
It's so true. Right.
Yeah.
Just knowing that it's going to be like slow, and we know what's coming. Just like Greg mentioned that earlier, that like early on we knew that this person was going to cheat, and you're just waiting for it to happen in the comic, and you just get this like feeling like, ugh.
What do you think
Adultery.
the gold mask thing is, so that he doesn't incriminate himself on the video?
I think he's in a sex cult.
No,
Ooh,
I
like that.
I think it's so he's anonymous in the video while I think he's done this before.
Oh, good call. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
That's what I said. Why didn't I get a holy shit?
Because I wasn't listening.
If we could just edit out when Budget King says that.
Sorry, I was probably looking at the cover for the issue because you guys were talking about the art.
Well, I'm glad you stepped over it, because you threw me sex cult, which I'm in. If this book is about a sex cult, damn.
Yeah. That's all it takes for you is sex cult, and you are in, baby, in.
There's more of this guy. There's a network of freaks.
Yes. Cool. Well, I'm glad that AWA put out another hit. They're definitely trying to rock the industry with their methodology.
Let's do this. We've already said before, AWA is known for wanting to do things that get optioned.
They call their comic books episodes, I think. Yes.
Okay. What's the likelihood of this being optioned for a movie or a TV show?
Are we supposed to pick A or
Percentage wise, what's the
seems like a movie.
This being optioned?
Oh, I think extremely high.
85%.
Yeah, I would. It's pretty damn high up there. This seems like a slam dunk. For
I think
anyone that wants to make something.
Cinemax could buy this one, and like 15-year-olds would clamor for the booby scenes at night.
Original Cinemax content.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I needed to know. That's it. This is something I can come back to when it finally gets optioned.
This is the softcore porn that should be made. Like the ones that guys, it's not about the sex, it's about the.
Is softcore porn being made still?
You know what? I don't know. I don't think so.
Where is the scrambled porn channel of our generation?
Who's the market for softcore porn? Everybody just goes straight to.
Where's the Red Shoe Diaries? Like
yes,
Taxi Cab Confessions. Where are they?
Are those are the people who like tame long drawn out stuff the real freaks now?
They are. The people that want narratives in their porn are the real freaks.
The old most common porn is now like the super weird porn.
They were edging before it was cool.
Like some long drawn out story is what does it for you.
And side boob.
Gentle caressing.
I love that. Yeah. This is a great take. We need to go public with this. If you are into softcore porn in 2021, you're the real freak.
Yep, you're the Billie Eilish.
Let your flag fly. I would go to a convention wearing a shirt that says "I like softcore."
I like it soft.
You would go to a convention wearing a shirt that says "I love softcore."
I could maybe finesse that tagline a little bit.
I like softcore.
Bring back softcore.
I like softcore pornography from the.
I don't
90s.
think you have to put the P word in it.
How would you finesse it? I'm really interested now. This is the pitch room.
I mean, if we're gonna workshop it right here, I mean, I would love if it rhymed.
Okay.
Softcore, like it's my chore.
I may be poor, but I still purchase softcore.
I'm lofty for softy.
Well, that one's kind of a stretch. I mean, hey, no bad ideas in a pitch meeting, though.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry I said that.
She ain't a whore. Give her a storyline in my soft core.
Too long.
Yeah, that was dumb.
That was a long one.
Okay, how about this one? I like softcore porn. Look me in the eyes.
I think we've got a winner. Stare into my eyes for $1.
Yeah, no, honestly, where's the market for good softcore porn anymore? Well, it's right here. Casual.
Oh, that's what we were talking about. I forgot.
Casual Fling.
We used to talk about comic books, and now we've moved on to this.